expectation. He's trying his best. That's all. He's living horribly in denial. He knows that what he's doing is really dumb, and not trying to work out which world is real, and not being really the best husband he could be to his wife who lost her son, or the best father he could be to his son who lost his wife. But this way, he gets a little bit of both of them. And if he really engaged with which one of his worlds was real, he might lose one of them. So he's a great detective, and he's a slightly flawed human being, but who could blame him?
Any idea on how the story's going to develop, or how you'd like it to?
I know exactly where we're going to go, and also I know exactly which world is real, but all our lips are sealed. Farrell and Howard and I know what we want to do with it, and I don't know about them, but I haven't even told my wife. So I'm certainly not telling the public.
I was going to ask, do you have an idea of which world is real, like a theory on
yes.
kind of?
I don't have a theory, I know.
You do?
Yeah,
Does anybody else know?
Yeah, the writer knows, the writer and the showrunner know. But
so do you feel
the entertainment value, I think, for the audience, hopefully, would be, first of all, not knowing which world is real, like Michael doesn't know which world is real, and then the weekly story, seeing what the consequences are, both professionally and then personally for him, of this very unique and troubling situation he's in.
I think it's been mentioned that there's connections between the different realities in terms of cases that your character investigates. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us how that works?
Well, he only wishes he knew how it worked, but it works like all dreams work, which is that in your subconscious you explore things that you may or may not have noticed in your real life. So one of these worlds is clearly a dream, and one world isn't. He doesn't know which one. So when things appear in one world, he's always looking for connections with the other world, and trying to work out why would something appear to him. And he begins to trust that his intuition is working better than his brain, and follow things in his professional life that have been triggered by things in the other world, and it actually leads to the crimes being resolved, often, but it also leads to terrible problems at work with his colleagues because they don't know what's going on. He's obviously behaving slightly bizarrely, and he can't explain what he's doing. And similarly in his domestic life, things are occurring to him and helping him, sometimes hindering him from the other world, and he can't quite explain the mechanism of it, but he begins to trust it and act on it.
Do you think there's going to come a point where it becomes such a burden for him to keep these two worlds, vivid and active in his mind that he will want to finally?
I think that there will be consequences, and they won't be that positive. It's certainly working out for him professionally, in that it's helping him solve cases, but it can't be good that his wife is trying to move beyond having lost a son, and he's not moving anywhere. And he's not really able to experience what she's experiencing, and similarly with his son. So, yeah, our plan is, and we have started to do it, that things will get very, very tricky for him, and he's on very shaky ground. And it makes it very entertaining. Funnily enough, it sounds ironic, but it makes it sometimes very funny because he gets into extremely tense and difficult situations, and there's some light relief from it. But ultimately, it's very, very difficult for him, and that, not only is it where our stories have naturally led us, but it's also true, the old showbiz maxim, that nobody buys a ticket to see the Village of the Happy People. It should make for great television.
Hey Jason, so as viewers, we're watching two different worlds, but as an actor...
I see you're watching me on a camera, that's what stopped me eating. I thought it was a tape, yeah.
But how do you approach it as an actor? Because really, you're playing the same character in both worlds, but is that a challenge for you?
It's a challenge only in that acting is normally a game of what if. So you say, well, what if I was a priest? I go and hang out as a priest for 6 months, or a soldier in the Green Zone, or whatever the other things I've done. And you work out what it is they think and want and feel and fear, and you try and program that into your imagination. But this is so far removed from almost any of our experiences. What if I didn't know which world was a dream, which world was real? That it takes a bit more effort than I'm used to. But it's rewarding and worthwhile. I mean, I've never worked this hard physically, because I go to work at 5 in the morning and I come home at 9 or 10 at night, because when we wrap, I have script discussions. But also the scenes don't play themselves, and I have to try and make sure that the audience shares the secret with me of what they know has happened in the other world. I'm actually shooting it out of sequence, like all things. Since I have two worlds, I'm in danger of being brain all over the walls of the trailer most days.
Since it's very high concept, what do you think is going to be the biggest hurdle in getting viewers to kind of go along for the ride?
Well, it's to make people watch it, because when people watch it, they're hooked. I mean, when I was asked to do it originally, I didn't want to do it because I had something else that was going on for me, and I was rather enjoying developing and producing this thing. And I got a few pages in, and in many ways, I just took the job to find out what happened next. It's really, They worried initially, the producers and directors and writers, whether people would get it. And I played them this thing I've got on my iPhone of my then 5-year-old daughter Ruby explaining the plot to me. Everybody gets it when they watch it, and I think it's very satisfying and rewarding and fun. You can overcomplicate it when you explain it. So the biggest challenge, as with anybody else who has a show on television or a theatre, a show out in the cinemas or a play on, is how do you get people to come and see it initially, and then you've got to be good enough for them to want to come back. And that's the bit that we can concentrate on.
Well, you obviously have a huge following from Harry Potter, so do you think your fans will tune in, or what do you think they're going to think about this?
Well, a lot of them did come already to Comic-Con. We showed the pilot to thousands of people there, and many of them, I think, were hoping that I would turn up with an elf. Yeah, I mean, I've no doubt that part of the reason that I was lucky enough to be offered the job is that people can see me in other things. I hope it brings an audience. But as this year's television crop shows you, having been in big movies doesn't really necessarily help. What matters is, A, that you get an audience in the first place, so the advertising works, and then the show is good enough to keep them coming back. It's my first experience of network television. So I've done episodes of West Wing and stuff before. I've never done a series, and it's a brutal world. People are on for a couple of weeks and then they're cancelled, and you get an audience, and there simply aren't enough pairs of eyes for every good show to get an audience. So all I can concentrate on, and we can concentrate on, is making the thing as good as possible, so that I go to bed at night and think we did a great day's work, and those are good scenes, and then it's up to other people to try and find the audience. It's out of my control, sadly.
And how did it feel to put Harry Potter behind you?
It was sad, actually. The last weekend, 2 weekends ago, I went to Florida for the DVD release of the last film, and it was probably the last time we'll all be gathered together, and it was heartbreaking because it was 10 years of very good times. And the other thing, apart from my own personal experience, it's great fun to do with a lot of my heroes acting around me. It's also true that it was such a relief. It's such an odd experience in 20 odd years of acting to be telling stories that you knew had an audience, and you knew that the whole world was waiting to see. So everybody felt completely empowered, which is normally most things you make, even this, there's a big undercurrent of fear. Like you said, will anybody watch? Will it be good enough? Will they like it? Is what we're doing working? We think it is. But with Harry Potter, it's the 180-degree opposite. We knew that we had something that was beloved, and we felt like we were curators of it. And I miss that experience, that's for sure.
What's it like working with this cast on this show?
Well, they're great. I was very lucky because I was the first person cast, and as I'm a producer, I got to be in all the castings. I got to read with all the actors, so I got to throw my 2 cents with them. And it's a dream cast. It's all the people that I really liked when they came in, who were funny and smart and talented and watchable, and many of whom I was fans of already. And I hope we give them enough fun things to do. I'm sure it's frustrating that I get to be in almost every scene. We have these amazing people like Cherry Jones, who, much garnered actress who can barely move, the clinking of awards in her household, coming in just to play the therapist. We're desperate to get her off the couch and somewhere else. But there's just quality everywhere I look, and it makes my job selfishly much easier because they're all so great at their job. If the task of acting is to imagine that you are this person in this situation, the better the other actors are, the easier my job is. So they're all, terrific. And you hang out with people like Wilma, who I'm from England. I don't know. Wilma's an icon everywhere you go. So whatever city you go to, people are flocking to him. And Steve has a massive following as well. So to me, they're these people who came in the room who I met who were very funny and very nice, which was a huge priority, and really talented. And then I find out that they have this, they've earned their spurs many times over in the world out there. So hopefully we're doing good stuff. It feels like we are.
And what's the atmosphere been like on set?
Well, I make sure that nobody takes anything too seriously. I give a little speech the first day, which is, let's nobody be a dick. That was it. Speech. I bring a big boom box on the set and play some very bad 70s disco, and everybody is forced to dance in a very undignified fashion so that nobody's posing in front of each other. And we try to have a good time while we're shooting it, because it may be the most popular show in the world, or it may have nobody in the dark watching it, so let's try and enjoy the experience.
One of the things that really struck me watching the pilot was the really kind of palpable sense of grief that Michael has. Is he maybe able to move past that scene as the series goes on?
Well,
Or is
you
that
know, the
still
thing,
kind of-
this too shall pass. I mean, feelings
Yeah.
really take hold, but the amazing thing about grief and loss is that you can move beyond it. It never goes away. People never lose love, but he's getting on with his job, and you still laugh, and you still love, and you still have adventures, and there's times and days and hours you forget, and there are times when it overwhelms you. He is slightly stuck in a very unusual place, and he's not really lost his wife or his son. People around him have, which means on the one hand he's not experiencing the same level of pain, but it means nor is he able to move beyond it. So yeah, I mean, there's what felt very unusual to me about the pilot, and we try it. And no episode is the same as any other episode. That's why the writers are having such a challenge to produce good stuff. But we try and make sure that, as well as a procedural element, it always comes from an emotional place, and there's real feeling in it. So it's not a sad show. These people are not sad people. We were aware that we wouldn't want to make it, and nobody would want to watch it. But it's an emotional show because it's nice to feel something as well as think something when you watch television.
And I forget which your span is which.
This is Rex.
You're Rex.
Tom, do you find yourself sometimes in the middle of the day going like, okay, which scene is this, and then looking at
All
your
the time. Well, I'm constantly going, wait, what the hell's going on? But then so is he, so is Michael. So it can be in a scene, and and I'm given the license to be looser with the script anyway, because I'm here all the time. And so I can be in a scene in the middle of something and go, wait, we're looking for the doctor, right? And the other policeman can look at me like I'm insane, because I think it's quite fun for the audience that if I'm a bit lost and they're a bit lost, I have to reorient myself, and they get reoriented along with me. So I'm constantly going, wait, I don't understand who's alive in it. But as long as the character's doing it as well, and the audience can do it with me, I think that's probably enjoyment.
We have time for 2 more. We're just getting back to production.
I'm going back to the therapy sessions because you're doing 2 different sessions with 2 different therapists.
Who are very different characters and have a completely different attitude to what's going on for me.
Yeah, so how is that? Because I mean, they're really 2 scenes, 2 people sitting down just talking. Is that a challenge? Just trying to make them interesting and compelling.
There's a lot of running around in this show, so it's nice every now and again to have a bit of a brief pause. But no, challenge is to make the ongoing challenge for the therapy scenes is to make them interesting and part of the story, and that the story doesn't stop. And we try and make that happen. And one of the great luxuries we've had since we're mid-season is that we've been able to go back and look at stuff that didn't quite work and change it and make it more active and make it more engaging and work out why and where the therapy scenes can be good. And is it a challenge? Actors love sitting. I do radio plays. Is it a challenge sitting down and talking? I've just did it 40 minutes without a break. Not really. No. It's easy when you look at BD and look at Cherry. They bring the thing to life completely.
And if you had to pitch the show for people to tune in, what would you say?
I couldn't. That's one of the great difficulties. I'm English. People who go, watch this, it's fantastic, I'm great, you'll love it. I don't know what to say. I'm making a show with very bright people. We all think we're doing something really interesting and entertaining and great. I hope that people give it a chance and that they find the same and then they'll want to come back. They won't keep watching it because I tell them to, they'll watch it because they like it. Our experience has been that people really love it so far. I think the pilot won a prize, it won some award for most pilot most likely to, whatever it is. And I think it's good.